So I'm excited to be here. My name is Kline. I'm the Director of Maritime Affairs at the Chamber of Shipping of America. And what we do at the Chamber of Shipping is we represent about 35 shipping managers, operators, and their regulatory interests in Washington, D.C. and at the IMO in London. So you'll hear from my side more kind of the boring stuff, the regulatory kind of technical side of shipping. So what I did here is I put about 37 slides here to go through. No, I'm just kidding. There's about 3 slides I put up here, and really what I hope to do is have a dialogue here and speak to you and answer your questions about what you're seeing out there and how I can provide some input into that about what's going on, whether that be on the Hill in DC or at IMO in London. And other than that, just kind of maybe a few things here to kind of spark your interest as well. And when I want to back up for a second. When I say I appreciate being here, it's not just because of the opportunity, but I sailed for about 5 years, and I know the impact that you guys have when you come on ships, and how much that meant to me being out at sea, being raised a Christian, and having just somebody come on board to connect with, whether that was 5 minutes, whether that was a pamphlet that I got, as silly as that sounds, or whether it was a knit cap from the other side of the world. You know, you can feel so unplugged when you're across the world, you know, as the panel said before. And we didn't have email then, we didn't have social media then, we didn't have those kind of things to connect with home, but the spiritual connection meant the world to me. So thank you guys for all you do, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. These are some of the members that we have at the Chamber of Shipping. You'll see, you know, some of the big players, mainly the oil majors, containers, inland, slightly inland. We focus more on the blue water fleet. And here's just a quick list of kind of who we work with. We, you know, Congress, Senate, EPA, Coast Guard, IMO, and IMO being kind of broken down into the safety committee and the environmental committee for the most part. That's really where the big fires are for our members right now in the international community. And this is, believe it or not even an all-inclusive list. But when we delve into that regulatory arena, these are just some of the issues that are kind of, I don't know if haunting is the right word, maybe. Haunting some of the ship managers and operators. And why is that important for you going out to the ships and meeting the mariners? Because I can tell you before, I've been in this position doing more policy work for the past 2 years. Before that, I did operations with a major ship company for 8 years, and then I sailed before that out at sea. So I can tell you that whatever's going on at that company level trickles down to everyone on the ship. And you know, these things that seem like they're kind of in the cloud and out there really affect the mariners, because the company's coming down to them on the ship and saying, hey, we got to be on time. We got to save fuel. Why are we having some problem with the internet here? You know, your internet usage is too high. The bill's too high. We have to now do extra training on your time off because, you know, there's a new convention that you need training on. There's a new endorsement that you have to have on your license. This goes on and on and on, and that all comes from here. And what we try to do at the Chamber of Shipping is approach every one of these topics through a mariner's eyes and a mariner's perspective, because it's one thing for some suit in an office to come out and say, yeah, this sounds good, and we can all, you know, agree on that. It's another thing for the mariner on the ship to have to live this and deal with it every day. So we're always making sure that we're grounded and we're approaching these regulations with common sense and representing our members and their mariners the best way that we can. So I'm so excited because I just learned that the Coast Guard here is going to handle the seafarer access rule, and I was going to touch on that, and now I don't have to do that. So it's going to leave. I just can't tell you how excited I am about that in itself. So you can basically just forget this part of the slide, and we'll focus on cybersecurity for a second. And I picked out cybersecurity. I kind of showed you that slide before to kind of get the brain work in there and kind of maybe some questions that you have or some things that are out there. Major fires right now in the industry, I would say, God bless you, is ballast water, is really a big one, but that's a very boring topic to talk about right now. So cybersecurity at least has a little bit of a better, exciting feel to it, maybe not. It can scare the heck out of you, that's for sure. But it's a big deal, and the maritime industry, in my opinion, is a little behind in cybersecurity. And we're making some efforts, but we're just starting the efforts, and these things take a while to come into fruition. And the biggest concern with cybersecurity is you don't know what you don't know. And if you're a mariner on a ship, being a mariner on a ship, unless the screen goes blue and the computer and the mouse doesn't work, I have no idea that I have a problem with cybersecurity on my ship. And I think that's the general consensus and feeling for most of the mariners that are out at sea today. So we've been working. I say we've been working because this guidance that I have up there is a living document. But about 2 years ago, the International Chamber of Shipping, BIMCO, CLIA, which is the cruise line industry, Chamber of Shipping, we all got together and put these industry guidelines on cybersecurity together. We focused strictly on the ships. It was really written for managers and operators to kind of get a grasp on cybersecurity and help their mariners and their ships understand what it is and some mitigation factors to prevent that, some training and things like that. So we put this together as a group, as the industry, and it's a great document. It's a free document. You can download that online, and like I said, it's a good thing. The problem is that when we got to the IMO in London, it was decided by a few delegations that, hey, we need to have ports involved in here, and we couldn't do that. We represent ship owners and operators. We're not experts on the port side. So IMO getting involved has decided at the last Maritime Safety Committee or Marine Safety Committee that they're going to put out guidelines themselves that are going to mirror work well with the ones that the industry put out. So when I say the industry is kind of coming into this, we've already seen all that, the news online and on the news that, the Sony being hacked and all these big companies being hacked. It took all that kind of for the maritime industry to say, hey, maybe we should do something here. So we're moving. We're moving in the right direction, but it's going to take time. How does this affect you all on ships? You're going to have to tell me that. I really don't know. But I imagine it's going to affect, maybe some of the things that you're bringing on board, how you access the ship and things like that. Because once companies start to kind of crack down on the cybersecurity realm, on how their cyber access controls, that could definitely affect how ships are visited. When the hack occurs to visitors lists in ports, there's plenty of examples about how in Antwerp there was basically a large drug operation that was going on, and how they did this was they hacked into the port's computer system and started changing what cargo was what, and that was enabled them to run drugs there for a period of time with, I believe it was almost a year, without being detected. So could that happen with access and visitors list? Could you go on a ship and somebody say, hey, get out of here? Could your name be hacked? There's all these kind of things that, like I said, we don't know what we don't know, and it's just something that we got to think about as an industry. And I think the last thing, I know Clay's going to touch on this, so I don't want to get too involved in it. Again, I want to keep it short so you guys can ask me what questions you have. But the industry right now is suffering. It's tough. It's really tough. And the regulatory burden is tough. The economy of shipping is tough. Not making a lot of money right now. Losing a lot of money right now. And that hurts the mariners in the end. And that puts stress on the mariners in the end. Jobs disappear. Ships go from U.S. flag to foreign flag. Ships get laid up on the beach. Ships are at anchor in Singapore. So there's a lot of things right now when you're trying to do your job, if you're living under this pressure that, hey, that I could go ashore and take my vacation and come back and the ship's gone. Now I got to go find another ship. That really puts stress on the mariners, and I think that's important to just keep in the back of your mind as you're going on board, and there might be an opportunity there to minister to some of these people that might be affected by the economy of shipping until we can kind of dig out of this. So that's where I am, and I'd love to hear questions, and I'd love to have a discussion with you. Thank you.